Early horror movies were usually called something else like spook tales or trick films. The word horror wasn't really used to describe films until the 1930s. The 1896 French film The House of the Devil is considered to be the first horror film due to its supernatural elements like demons, ghosts, witches, and the use of special effects. Then as things went on, horror started to be broken down into subcategories like slasher and body horror. One subgenre which came along that I might enjoy the most is called folk horror. This uses things like rural settings, themes of superstition, folk religion, sacrifice, and the dark aspects of nature. Some think that the 1957 film Night of the Demon was a foreshadowing to the folk horror genre. The movie has isolated rural settings and countryside people who believe in the supernatural. The earliest known use of the term folk horror may be in a 1966 novel called The Magus, in which a figure is described as a folk horror, a corn doll bundle of black strips of rag that hung down to the ground in a series of skirted flounces. The term folk horror was used in a 1970 film magazine called Kind Weekly by a reviewer describing the movie Blood on Satan's Claw. The director of that movie adopted that phrase to describe his film in a 2004 retrospective interview in the magazine Fangoria, saying that he was trying to make a folk horror film. Some folk horror movies over the last 10 years that I liked were Midsummer, The Witch, The Ritual, Gretel and Hansel, Satyr, and a lesser known, very low budget one called Jugface. This movie has themes like backwoods poverty, incest, a strange religion, isolation, and human sacrifice. Ada is this young woman living in the woods in a small sheltered community who becomes pregnant by her brother. She has been arranged to be married to another member of that community, but their traditions require her virginity to be proven before marriage, so she's scared of being found out. The community is protected by some kind of entity that lives within a pit that offers good health and survival to them in exchange for human sacrifices. The entity communicates with a mentally challenged potter named Dwight, who goes into trance states during which he carves faces on jugs of the next chosen victim. Ada knows where he puts the jugs after he carves them and finds that the next jug has her face on it. To save her life and that of her unborn child, she hides the jug. This causes the entity to start killing members of that community, including her brother. When her family discovers her loss of virginity, Ada comes into contact with a ghost-like person who was one of the previous victims sacrificed. He tells her that surrendering herself to the entity in the pit is the only way to stop the carnage. She flees instead with Dwight, who is her friend, and is keeping secret that she was supposed to be the next sacrifice. In a nearby town, they seek refuge with a store where that community sometimes shops and trades homemade whiskey for money, but that shop owner contacts Ada's father. Brought back, the two are publicly whipped, and Dwight is tied up so the entity can take him away. The whipping causes Ada to miscarriage, and she reveals to her parents that the child's father was her brother. Her father refuses to believe this and interrogates Dwight to determine if he is the child's true father. Then that entity comes out of the pit and kills Ada's father. Resigned to the course of events, despite one last chance to escape, Ada decides to reveal to everyone that she hid her jug, apologizes to them, and allows the community to sacrifice her to the pit to finally appease the entity. It's kind of a sad story with a pretty dark ending. Some people say folk horror critiques the disconnect between modern society and the natural world, suggesting that our pursuit of progress may have come at the cost of wisdom and connection to the land. Some feel that the genre can evoke a sense of nostalgia for a simpler past and a longing inside us to reconnect with nature and religion. These things make it sound like folk horror is a good thing, but all the folk horror movies I've seen involve city folks being hunted down by inbred families, or made into sausages, or sacrificed to old gods, or made to squeal like pigs. So it seems to me that the filmmakers actually want to scare everyone to stay out of these small rural towns. And being that I live in a small rural town where I have yet to see any human sacrifice or inbreeding and pig squealing, I still enjoy the folk horror genre. Good night.
Pooh.